So welcome to Boom It's on the Blockchain, and we are live streaming. This is our first one to live stream, and today I have Shep with me. How's it going, Shep?
Hey, Al, how are you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks, good. So for all the viewers out there, if anyone's actually logged in to watch us right now, we've actually gone on live 10 minutes early. We're looking to start doing daily shows just about what's happening in the blockchain space. So over to you, Shep. What do you think we should talk about today?
About Colorado green Bitcoin mining. How about you, Al?
Yeah, perfect. Green Bitcoin mining. So let's have a look. This is a recent press release featuring the company down in Colorado. Let me just add that to the screen, Shep. So Ziyen Energy eyes solar power for green Bitcoin mining in Colorado. So why is green Bitcoin mining becoming, mainstream news within the space? Well, really, it's just because of, maybe what Elon Musk was talking about. But up until now, the majority of Bitcoin mining, and we were talking just last year about 90% of all Bitcoin mining was happening in China, and it was all powered essentially by coal power plants. So you've got coal power plants powering Bitcoin mining. So at that time, when people started to work out the CO2 emissions created from Bitcoin mining, you were basically creating more CO2 emissions in Bitcoin mining than the whole of Argentina. So what's happened over the past 18 months is there's been two major developments. One is we've got it featured in our energy token news. It's Chinese cryptocurrency miners finding a home in North America. So what you're finding is that the Chinese government no longer wants Bitcoin mining happening in China. This is a strategic decision for them. And what's happening is there's a huge surge in Bitcoin mining now moving out to the States. So this is one of the big moves that's happening here. But as it moves to the States, we don't want to just be powering this with fossil fuels. We want to move into this new age of green Bitcoin mining. So let's go back to our featured article, and you can tell us a little bit about this then, Shep.
Yeah, certainly. The United States is the second biggest Bitcoin mining destination on the planet. It accounts for nearly 17% of all the world's Bitcoin miners, which is an increase of 151% in the last year. However, there's a major environment concern as Bitcoin, like Al was mentioning, like other cryptocurrencies, require large amounts of energy to operate due to the computations of the mainframe mining rigs needed for Bitcoin mining. And also with the advent of administration of solar energy development in green Bitcoin mining, it also lessens the carbon footprint and lessens global warming in effect. So it frees up more of the energy, the leftover energy, to feed back into the energy grid likewise. And
yeah, so if you think about what we're doing here with Ziyen Energy, so I'll put another energy tokens news article up. So, what our show is going to be about is essentially key news articles that we feature each day on the site. Shep and I and other guests will talk about them. So if we look at the sort of cryptocurrency miners turning to renewable energy sources in a bid to modernize, essentially what I'm seeing as an energy company is Ziyen. So if people think about our company, we acquired interest in oil producing assets. We've still got our oil producing asset out in Indiana. We have interests in about 60 wells in Texas. And we've started acquiring leases, long-term leases, one for a wind farm in Wyoming and one for a solar farm down in Colorado. So what we've created in Ziyen Energy is essentially an option to have a second revenue stream on the leases themselves. Now, why do people think this is important for our company? It seems quite a diversification. But really what it is it's like technologies coming together. So, we're an energy company on the cutting edge of, I think, the energy space, the blockchain space. We've gone into tokenization. This is what our platform's all about. And the Ziyen Energy tokenized fund owns interests. We also own coal reserves in Illinois as well. So, we've got a number of different assets in there. So why do we want to do Bitcoin mining alongside? Well, essentially, we've got the access to the land. So we've got essentially cheap land that's already connected to the grid. So that's a huge thing. The other thing that what we've got is essentially we've got this capability to power the Bitcoin mining from alongside the oil wells, alongside the solar farm, alongside the wind farm. So these are things that are actually starting to happen. And to me, this is key for the development of our company because, we can be a tokenized fund. So if anyone invests into Ziyen Energy, you own interest into these oil wells, you own interest into this solar farm, you own interest into this wind turbine and a wind farm. But what we're going to do is we're going to do Bitcoin mining connected to the solar farm. We're going to do Bitcoin mining connected to the oil wells. We're going to do Bitcoin mining connected to the renewable energy. And it creates a second revenue stream. And because it's already connected to the grid, we've already got access to it. And the reason why Bitcoin mining was so big in China, and it was powered by coal, because that's essentially where the cheapest electricity in the world was. So this is what's key in terms of the development of our company and what we're doing going forward. So as we start to develop the business going forward and we move into green Bitcoin mining, is we've got access to land. This land is connected to the grid. This land has the option for renewable energy, has the option to continue to produce oil and gas. On the oil wells we have down in Indiana, it's got access to 150 acres. So the oil wells that are sitting there are only taking up a small percentage. You've got the tank battery, it's all connected to the grid. We've got the electricity coming in from wind to two places within that. So we've got two electrical points powering all these wells with Wind Electrical Company, which is a major provider of electricity down there. And then what we're going to do is have these big containers sitting right next to them, getting powered by this infrastructure, so we can provide this opportunity to provide Bitcoin mining at cheaper electricity and cheaper land. And this is what we're moving into. And this is what's so exciting for it. And then because China's pulling out of Bitcoin mining, the US is now becoming the #1 hub of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency mining in the world. And this is just, as Shep said, it's increased 151% in the last 12 months alone. So what's it going to be like for the next 12 months? It's just going to grow and grow and grow. And if you think about what our company's involved in blockchain and tokenization, we're tokenizing this. And then what we're doing is we're allowing people out there with this opportunity to essentially invest into this as well. And that's actually what's key. Let me put you back in here just now, Shep. So let's have a look at the other articles that we're looking to bring in today as well. So if we think about what's happening in the space, we'll talk about that one in a second. Let's look at this one talking about stable coins. So if you think of what's happening in there, now this is an article from Mastercard, and I'll leave the link below for people to read, stable coins and FAQ on these digital assets. So what you're finding is in the space, you've got every single major, company out there who's looking to involved in technology, involved in finance. We're getting a bit of feedback from you, Shep, actually. I think you've got your phone on at the same time. So it's so what that's looking to do is it's allowing these companies out there that, if you said, is Visa or Mastercard or PayPal involved in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency 3 years ago, it just wasn't at all out there. You weren't looking at these companies. You weren't looking at major international banks looking at this technology. So really, in terms of what you're looking to develop, and what's so interesting in this is, and this is probably one of the best articles I've actually read about stable coins themselves, and it's from Mastercard. So you're thinking Mastercard, Visa, these companies are now getting involved in blockchain. They're getting involved in digital currency. So everything out there is starting to happen, and the bigger and bigger players are coming in there. And if you go to our news section on our platform, which is energy tokens, every day we are publishing key articles to do with the blockchain cryptocurrency market space, looking specifically at energy, but looking, other companies involved in this as well. And these are things we're going to look to develop going forward and talk about on our podcasts when we go live, so people can start to see this. But anyone else out there, you can go to energytokens.io, you can click the news articles, and you can subscribe to our news articles and get these updates coming out from this. So that's really interesting in what we're trying to do and what we're trying to sort of provide information on. And if we come back to our platform, and what we're looking to do is, we've got podcasts. So all our podcasts we've done so far, they are here. We'll be going to in-depth studies. A lot of our podcasts involve interviews as well. So that's available for people there. And then again, the About Us section, we've got the library section in there as well, whereby we provide, background information on different things happening out there. This one looks at asset-backed tokens. This one's particularly looking at the benefits of like NFTs. So, we're developing this hub of information for people to be able to access this. And our company is just one of the leading providers in this space itself. So what I'm going to do now is, I see we've got a comment coming in what we're doing here. And this is from Samuel Miller. Let me put this up here. So this is great. There's Sam there. Young Samuel Miller. He actually worked for the company in the early days of that as well. So hope life's treating you well, Sam. Comes from a great family as well. But he came in and started to work with us. So that's a great question from Sam. Is like, how will Bitcoin mining affect the dividends of shareholders? So essentially what we're looking to do is, once the energy tokens platform goes live, so people will be able to trade their tokens. So the plan is, these are security tokens, they're not cryptocurrencies. So looking back to Sam's question, when the energy tokens trading platform goes live, what are we going to have on there? Well, we're going to have different asset-backed tokens, but we'll also have the Ziyen Energy token that's going to be listed in there. So what we'll look to do is, any of the early Ziyen shareholders, anyone who's invested in Ziyen coin, this is going to provide you the first access for liquidity. Now, we're going to be working with this company, Securitize. They're looking for their ATS to be live, sometime this month. And then we're looking for an onboarding process there as well for the next 6-8 weeks. So ideally, before the end of the year, people will be able to trade their investments in the company from Ziyen Energy. Now, at the moment, obviously, because the company's not trading on any exchange, we're not providing any dividends to any of the shareholders. But this is what Sam's alluded to, is once we are actually Bitcoin mining, the way we're looking for it to develop is, every quarter or every 6 months, we still have to work it out depending on how much Bitcoin mining we're able to do, is that any holder of the Ziyen Energy tokens, they'll be able to get distributions either in Bitcoin or Ethereum based on what we're actually looking to mine. So any of the early shareholders, this will be to encourage them to hold on to their investment with the company, because what we want to do is, as we start Bitcoin mining, we're not going to be getting a 1 Bitcoin each based on your investment unless you own a huge part of the company. What you'll be looking at is fractional interest of Bitcoin. But Bitcoin's rising all the time. So if we're able to provide fractional interest in Bitcoin to any of the Ziyen Energy token holders who've invested in this is why I think it's going to be really beneficial to them, because this is something we're looking to do. And then, Ronnie, who we're working with in the Illinois Basin now as well, we're just turning on the pumps for our producing asset down there on the POTS lease. But we've also got the capability to start Bitcoin mining right next door to where we're actually having storage facilities as well. So Ronnie's checking this out for us just now, but Ronnie's really interested in helping develop this with us as well. So, that's really interesting. And then I actually think the Illinois Basin, I've already spoken to Country Mark about what we're doing and a bit about this Bitcoin mining happening there. And I envisage the next 5 to 10 years that, all the small operators for oil and gas projects out there in Illinois, Indiana, they'll be able to do Bitcoin mining on site purely based on what I talked about before, was this cheap electricity. Because really, we're not coming in as the experts with servers. You're looking at containers, they'll have servers, they have fans, they have infrastructure in it. What we're able to provide is essentially cheap land. Well, we've got the land anyway, so they'll have access to land, and then essentially cheap electricity. And, the lowest denominator in terms of what we're able to provide in the Bitcoin mining space is this cheap electricity. Now, if we can start to connect, solar panels, wind turbines, providing renewable energy connected to this, again, that takes it one stage further, because now you're starting to move into green Bitcoin mining, and that's how it works. So it's not one simple thing, it's multiple things all together. So, great question for Sam. Thanks for coming on board. Haven't spoken to Sam in a while, actually. I hope his mother's making sure he behaves himself. Great young man, met in the golfer out in the golf range, and he did a great job for the company when he was over in California. So thanks very much for the comment, Sam. So back to you, Shep, there just now. So what are your thoughts on it then, all, Shep?
I think it's a pretty amazing time to be involved in all this, because when it comes down to the networking, everything with the renewable energy and the assets for cheaper access to electricity and so forth of that nature is all paramount, especially when it gets into the infrastructure, green into the Bitcoin mining likewise. And having the land also is quite essential to be able to bring in the mining interests of the Bitcoin with the mining rigs likewise.
Yeah, Shep sourced the land for us in Colorado. So let's bring this land up so everyone can see what we're talking about. There's an image of there. So what do we see in the background? That looks like a bit of a large mountain in there, Shep. Tell everyone a little bit about the land and where are we right now in America?
That is the fifth tallest mountain in the lower 48 of the Rocky Mountains. That is Mount Blanc. It peaks out at 14,368 feet above sea level. And it is the fifth tallest mountain peak in the state of Colorado. And this is in Alamosa County. There is grid on the property, fiber optic internet, power, and so forth for the mining rigs likewise.
Yeah, and so this is the property. Well, this is adjacent to the property we pulled up online earlier, Shep. So, there's infrastructure you can see in the back, as Shep said. It's already connected to the grid. This is key for us. I know there's people out there wanting to do off-grid Bitcoin mining, powered by wind turbines, etc. And we'll be able to get these people on the show to speak about the benefits of that. And that technology is even greater because they're using it by satellite. But for what we're doing, Shep, we need to ensure that we are connected to the grid 24/7. And the way it'll sort of work with the solar farm down there is it'll be a small solar farm. So we'll be feeding electricity back onto the grid, but we'll be pulling electricity from the grid in the same way you run your solar panels in your house. You're running solar panels in your house right now in California. Essentially, you're feeding electricity onto the grid, and then you're pulling electricity from the grid as well. And that's the same thing that we are looking to do here out in Colorado. So it's not like we're reinventing the wheel. All we're doing is providing the sort of lower cost in terms of electricity itself. Anything else you like to say about Colorado there just now then, Shep?
The fact is that the gradient of the land, the longitude, the latitude of the whole region is perfect for solar panels as well. There is no obstructions whatsoever in the whole area. The infraction potential of the sun is right near 80 to 90% given any time throughout the day, which is also beneficial when it comes to, in effect, not only feeding the power back into the grid, just like Al brought on the table with houses in California with solar panels on them likewise. So essentially, it will operate the same way.
Yeah, perfect, Shep. And, anyone out there interested to learn more what we're doing in terms of energy tokens, our business plan's available. We've sent it out to our shareholders. A lot of shareholders out there, if they haven't received it, or it's actually gone into your spam potentially because it was quite a large attachment, just send a message into investorrelations@ziyen.com and you can get our up-to-date business plan that'll tell a little bit more about the direction of the company and what we're doing. So we're going to move on to our final topic of the day, which will continue to keep going, is chewing the cud. So chewing the cud today is a little bit controversial as always, Shep. Let's just pop this one in here. Let's talk about Afghanistan. The whole of America can't stop talking about Afghanistan. I think everywhere in the world is just talking about Afghanistan right now. But I think this is, to me, wherever you want to think about what's happened in terms of America pulling out and leaving $113 billion worth of weapons behind for the Taliban, might not be the best sort of defensive strategic strategy. This is one of the saddest stories that I've read coming out. It's like Taliban announced new rules for female students. So in going forward, females and males in Afghanistan will no longer be allowed to be taught together. This is going to happen in schools and in universities. Unfortunately, there's not enough female university teachers out there. So it means they were talking 80 to 90% of the courses that women can get in Afghanistan, they will no longer be able to get educated there as well. So to me, this is one of the saddest things you see, when you talk about, I always talk about having a son who's autistic, people being marginalized. You think for women's rights and what's happening across the world, it's unbelievable to think that this is now happening again out in the Middle East, whereby women and young girls will no longer be able to get education, or if they're going to get education, essentially it's going to be limited. It's going to be, based on your gender, and then obviously the dress code's going to represent the dress code that you see here today. So again, it's moving back the way, so it's a super sad scenario on that, You got any thoughts on that, Shep?
Yeah, what I can say, it's appalling. The fact is that young ladies and girls over there will not be able to further their education, because that's the highest enlightenment and enrichment in a person in their whole life, because education is one thing nobody can take from you. It's something you hold with you all through your days. And I find that very saddening likewise, Al. It's very saddening.
I think that's a great point to finish on there just now and then, Shep. So that's great then. This is our first one that we're going to go live. We're going to basically start to do sort of daily updates. We'll look at different news stories that's going to come out. We'll speak about the development of the energy tokens platform, the opportunities coming in, updates and tokenization. We'll focus on what we're doing with the company, as well as talk about the key news stories of the day, because I think for people to understand that you've not missed the boat with this technology. This technology is going to change the world in the same way the internet's changed the world. All you're going to see over the next 18 months is a huge adoption of this technology. And then that's exactly what's about to happen, Shep. And, that's what's so exciting about it. We've been involved in this essentially since 2018. We're coming from the energy side of the spectrum in terms of what it is, but the financial side of things. We'll talk about everything involved in this. We'll talk about major players and what they are doing to get involved in the space. We'll talk about how big the market space is right now. They're looking at the cryptocurrency blockchain space now being worth over $2 trillion. And
wow.
In 2030, they think that could be anywhere between $5 to $6 trillion as well. So that's a huge growth that's going to happen in this market space, and it's going to be bigger than that going forward. So anyone out there who's interested in blockchain, Bitcoin, energy, tokenization, look out for the podcasts. They'll be available online for people to watch back afterwards. So thanks very much then, Shep. Thanks to everyone.
Thank you very much.
You've been watching Boom It's on the Blockchain. Thanks, Sam, for the comment. Appreciate that. Hope the family's doing well. Have a nice day.